This is how people are supposed to live, isn't it? Relaxing outside.
I don't get why more people don't fish, dude. This is where it's at. So you've been seeing this digital real estate in the metaverse?
I don't know why these kids can't just come out here in the real world and enjoy it. Fishing, nature.
Dude, I don't get it. And whenever I hear about it, I literally find myself getting mad.
These kids don't get it.
I don't get the metaverse.
Speaking of millennials, look at these idiots.
That's what I'm talking about. Can you believe this? Look at this.
I got one.
Oh, shoot.
Dude. Oh, that's a big one.
I got you. What the hell are you guys doing?
The hell does it look like we're doing?
Fishing?
Yeah.
Dude, that ain't real fishing.
Millennials, why don't you get over here and let me teach you a few things?
Go get him.
What are you saying? Hold my earrings.
There you go, son.
What kind of controller is this?
It's not a controller, it's a fishing reel.
Well, how do I use it? Where's the A button?
There's no buttons.
Oh, I got me a marlin! Oh, wow! Oh, this is awesome! Oh, yeah!
Hey everybody, you're kicking it with the Homeboys and the Homeboys podcast. We have got an extremely exciting podcast for you today. We are talking about boomers versus millennials. And it first came to us because we had watched a video clip on YouTube talking about how baby boomers have failed to set up the new millennial generation. So anyhow, we have got two of our very own. We have our producer, Bryce here, and we have our intern who's also a digital media expert, Bennett, and we're just excited to have a discussion here. My name is Clint Wetherill. As always, I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Scott Adams. How are you, sir?
I'm great. I'm excited to have this talk. I know these guys have some questions for us, and we talk a lot about our philosophies in business, and it's interesting to hear kind of their thoughts back. And I think this can be a real valuable podcast to hear the different perspectives from each. And my hope is that we learn, you and I, us old fogies, learn something from these youngsters, and these youngsters learn something from us old fogies in this.
I think it's also good because, you know, we are old fuddy-duddies, and I think sometimes a lot of our content that we post, we just look like angry old men. I think that it'll be good for our listeners to know that, hey, we've got some buddies in this that are much younger than us, and they're dear friends of ours, and we get to work with them every day. So we really value what you guys have to say, and we want to just learn as well. So anyhow,
absolutely.
Kick us off, Bryce.
So I thought
Good
that
to see you with the microphone in front of you, instead of the man behind the camera.
Different view, yeah.
That's right.
I'm in the camera now. Been in some of the skits lately. It's been a good time. I've been having a lot of fun.
We love it, man.
Well, I thought the video was really interesting.
Yeah.
It'll be in the description, but it was, I don't know. A lot of it was new to me, but it makes a lot of sense once it's put into terms. Just how we kind of were set up for failure, just how hard it is. A big one is just how there was less competition back then. So like voting on anything that benefits them, they kind of didn't think about the future generation. They just thought of their future. So it just kind of makes sense that they're wealthier and we're just kind of unsuccessful right now.
The boomers?
Yes.
Yeah. So the boomers have the largest creation of wealth in world history for a generation. And there's a lot of parts of that I really respect. At the same time, I think it would be short-sighted to not make note that they had some very favorable economic reasons that made it easier for them possibly than it is for your generation. They came home from World War II after kicking butt and brought that same attitude into their work, into building communities, and They may not have done it exactly right for future generations, but they sure did get this country on a really good track, I think. So I want to give them credit where credit's due in those areas. But it's a changing world. Real estate specifically, we're going to try to keep this as real estate related as we can for you folks. But I think it's good to acknowledge the fact that it may have been easier for that generation to buy their first time home and to have a piece of the American dream than it is now. That doesn't mean it's not possible.
Oh, yeah. And on the other side of that, I feel like if I was in that generation, I probably would have been doing the same thing, not thinking so much about, after this, like, I mean, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I set myself up? But at the same time, just kind of sucks for us now.
Yeah.
What do you think, Bennett? What are you hearing amongst your peers? You're senior in college.
Yeah.
I know it's a little early for home ownership, but do you feel millennials are unfairly, judged? Do you feel like, it's harder to get ahead? What are you seeing? It's been a long time since Scotty and I have been in college.
Yeah. I took a class about marketing to millennials, and the main thing about that was like them having something they can believe in, and they have a short attention span as well. So I feel like a lot of times real estate can be like a long-term thing, and it doesn't really interest millennials in that way. So that's kind of my take on it, which technically I'm Gen Z, so I don't have as many of the millennial takes, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't have a ton of information or knowledge about real estate, and I'm sure you could say the same thing, Bryce.
Right, because I'm right on the edge of being a millennial. I don't know what the year is. I was born in 96. I think it's 97 is the cutoff, maybe?
Okay, I don't know.
I don't know either. I know I'm right on the edge, but I mean, me and my friends just don't really ever talk about that type of stuff, and just all the saving techniques I've learned so far working here, like, they don't know anything about that, just the standard, 401k and, like a bank account, but not so much investing in, liquid assets and real estate and, stuff that'll actually make money. But like you said, long term, but now we're just, with technology, we're just so quick.
So I don't want to go off on a long diatribe about this, but I just want to quickly throw this in there for any young listeners. Your education system has failed you. You must pick up the slack as far as financial education goes. You need to learn how savings works. You need to understand the basics of compounding interest. There's some simple tools out there. The homeboyspodcast.com will have some simple savings calculators that can help you see the power of saving small when you're young and what it can grow into. And it's not even real estate related. It's simply just a tool so you can see what it means to just put a tiny acorn away month after month, and that it can grow into a giant oak tree, which is something the baby boomers figured out
early.
They did.
They really
I think it's important that you look at like the evolution of what periods they went through. I mean, the baby boomers, are a generation removed from the Great Depression. And we grew up in a generation of, it's called the decade of excess, the 80s. Whereas the baby boomers had parents that literally saved everything that they could. We just had fast food in here. They would have saved the wrapper from the fast food. And I'm not joking. Think of that. Like, I had grandparents that that's what they would do. They're coming out of that generation. That kind of got passed on, that work ethic, that is not only desire to get ahead, but that drive to not completely, go broke and not have any food on the table. But where did the financial literacy cut off? Because we see it on a lot of the stuff that we're posting on social media. Like, the younger generation just doesn't receive that information. I don't know why. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I don't know. Maybe... And I bring it up technology again, but just, I guess, social media is just kind of not pushing the right information, just kind of useful or not useful stuff. And we kind of spend a lot of our time on the internet, and I don't know, just there's not a lot there. It's out there, but it's just not really being pushed to us.
I have a theory about this, that the baby boomers figured it out and used it for their advantage. And in some ways, they barely even figured it out. They just knew that they had heard about the American dream. They knew what you did, and they did it, and it ended up working. So it's not like they went in with their eyes wide open in a lot of cases. Right. Then our generation came along, the Gen Xers and the in between, and we grew up in an era of excess and greed, where greed is good. We idolized wealth and wealth building and the hoarding of that, and we wanted to know how to do that. So we dove into those things. Now, that's not as sexy because people have figured out that is an empty existence and money does not buy you happiness. And now your generation doesn't care as much about it. So I don't think there's the motivation to learn it.
Honestly, I think that since it's kind of backwards now, like you guys have talked about it all the time, how, back then you couldn't afford, a boat if you don't have 20 grand. Now you can afford it because everything's payment driven. So maybe just because everything is technically easy to buy right now, we just don't care about saving. We're just like, it's $100 a month. Like, who cares? But then you're not looking at it long term. We're just very short term thinkers, I think, is what it really is all about. We don't care about 10 years. We care about
what can I have right now.
Right.
Yep. So who cares?
And why would I save $20 a month? How stupid.
Exactly.
I barely can get by. I'm not going to set aside $20. What's that going to get me? I'd rather have the $20 now than $20 in 10 years.
Exactly.
But you don't think to yourself, if I save $20 every week, that by the time I'm 65, I will be a millionaire.
Right.
You don't think about those
People just
things.
don't know that math, I guess.
Right.
I didn't. I mean, until now. So
I feel like when you I'm only going to put $20 away every month or every week, I guess that'd be more reasonable. But you just don't think it can really build that much.
Right.
Because I don't know, you think what my starting deposit's like $5,000 and I put 100 on it every month. There's no way that's going to grow to something big over time.
I just don't think like that.
You don't, I don't know. We're just I'd rather just have my money now and spend it in the way I want rather than having to earn my money and then kind of put it aside for maybe 30 years down the road. We don't really think like that, I think, as millennials and younger people.
Well, I'm sorry you were let down by everybody before you and by the education system. I wish this was taught and better. And I'm really proud of folks who seek this knowledge and then, more importantly, apply it to their own lives. And the fruits that will come from it are amazing for young guys like you and others who are listening, who are trying to learn and better their lives. It's a really, really neat thing. We're on the not the sunsetting end of it, but we're on the benefiting side already of having a life spent focused on this stuff, and the fruits are wonderful.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that there's a happy median somewhere. Our generation, we're definitely, you and I especially, definitely savers. But, you go back and, I've heard stories of my grandparents and the crazy, saving techniques. I joke around. I've got an uncle that I really look up to. It's kind of my business mentor. And he won't do anything. And the guy's rich and he won't do squat,
He walked out of a Pizza Hut because it was
$22 pizza that he was splitting with my mom and dad.
Right.
That him and his wife were splitting with my mom and dad.
Multi-millionaire.
Many times over, walked out. I think there's a happy median in there. And I think that, not to toot our own horns, but I think you and I do that a little bit. I mean, you and I are all about life experiences and with our families. And, we've got a few little toys here and there, nothing extravagant, but we're not necessarily just putting every single dollar away and not having any fun. And I think...
Not anywhere close.
I think that gets lost, that sometimes the younger generation thinks, oh, well, if you're saving, then you're not living life to the fullest. I mean, I would disagree. I feel like I live a pretty full life.
So you're saying it's not either or. It's you can have both. You can save.
Correct. Correct. We see it all the time on social media where we just had a clip where you posted about how you foolishly bought a boat as soon as you graduated college. And everyone's like, well, that's exactly what you should have done. Life experience. Well, you've owned 4 boats since then.
Right.
It's the fact that, you really couldn't afford it then. I mean, you could have rented a boat and enjoyed someone else's boat. I mean, it's not like you're just sitting, in an apartment,
in my mom's basement,
doing nothing because you don't want to spend anything. but you have to be smart. And I think the other thing that I want to touch on, I want your guys' opinion on, is you guys haven't been around for a downturn. I mean, think of that. I mean, you guys have not seen an economic cycle go the other way. As soon as I got my feet underneath me out of college and had saved enough where I felt like I was on a good path, we had the Great Recession, and I didn't get a paycheck for years. Now, what happened during that Great Recession is what really provided me my wealth. You didn't get the immediate cash, but we were buying properties, so cheaply. But does the younger generation know that it's not always an elevator ride going up, or is it just that you've watched? I mean, just think from 2010 to now. I mean, it's done nothing. You take 12 years off of your guys' lives. You weren't
half of mine almost. Yeah, damn
you're
near
not
half.
interested in what was going on in the financial world. I mean, does the younger generation know that it's not all sunshine and rainbows?
I only know because of working here, but just like you said, I didn't even think about it. I guess I thought just 2008 was a one-time thing. Like, it happened, it's not going to happen again. Yeah. But that might just be me.
Do you guys care? You didn't care. Most folks just don't.
I mean, when I
because
was
you didn't have
8,
money in the market, and
right. I was just talking to Will about this.
I was 8 years old when that happened.
Right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, recent times, like before you guys came here, were you reading the Wall Street Journal? Were you looking at what the stock market was doing? Because I did starting in high school.
Crypto stuff. That's about it. Not exactly. Yeah. It suckered us in. That's all I would.
Also looked at crypto's not entirely different than what we went through in the 90s. We had the .com run up, and
you're betting on companies that would quadruple in value overnight, and then the next day it just kept going. So
True.
We saw that. We understand the attractiveness of that. But it's interesting to me. I think we grew up in a time when greed was cool. And so, like, it was cool to know what the stock market was doing. I remember at business school at IU, Kelly School of Business. Sorry, they had TVs in the hallways, and it was one of the first schools.
The tickers running at all times.
To have it.
Oh yeah,
and it was cool to stand around there and watch that. And so I think it's just our generation is different.
Oh, I was in the Stock Market Club. I was in the Kelly School of Business Stock Market Club. I thought it was awesome. Loved it.
But here's the good news, guys, and any millennials listening. Not only should you not be scared of the market, that it's probably going to, it will go down during your lives, and it'll probably go down pretty soon, that is a great time to start making money and to be young in your career and to be investing it, because you're buying in at a time when the market's down.
That's a fabulous point.
Just think of it as stocks almost. That's how we have to think about it. Just stocks down by.
That's part of the reason I'm excited for you guys to get your 401ks set up. You're going to be buying in, and the market's already down this year, so you're going to be buying in at a time when it's not super inflated. I'm excited about my own 401k and my IRAs and all those payments going in every month right now. Everyone's freaking out about the stock market going down and a recession. Hey, I'm still in my earning years. So especially you guys, you shouldn't be scared of the market. You should not look at anything short term.
Right.
It's long term. That's what got the baby boomers their generational wealth. It was they bumped into this accidentally, learning they could own a home and have a car, and
it makes money.
And then they realized the wealth generation, the generational wealth that can build. And so you guys need to start looking at that long term as much as possible. I don't just mean you guys when I say that. I mean any young folks listening.
Yeah.
The long play is incredibly lucrative, and you don't have to strike it rich with some random new crypto that happens to go up. There is a long play that can be made that doesn't take much effort, and it's going to require some habits, and you can pass those baby boomers by far if you follow those practices.
That's the thing, is we have way more access and just ability to do it, I guess, now, just because of our resources and the internet. So it's technically easier, I guess.
Lending was more difficult back then.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, for your first mortgage, it was available, but besides that, to get a car loan wasn't the easiest thing, much less anything else.
Now you can get a loan on anything.
You can. You couldn't get loans to buy investment properties in the 1950s. Couldn't do it.
So technically, it's easier.
It is.
It's just
The financial tools are more vast and diverse now.
better.
They are. And so you guys have some things that are great at your side. And I didn't want to criticize your opening about it being harder for you guys.
Right.
Because I feel like it always seems harder for the person that's down until they are up. And then once you've battled through that all and you see what it took to get to where you are, and then the next generation comes along and goes, you don't know what it's like, how hard it is for us.
Yeah.
It just keeps going.
Like a cycle, yeah.
You want to
It's just the
say,
same thing.
guys, it was really hard for us. It was really hard for Clint's grandfather, who didn't miss a day of work. Listen, he didn't miss a day of work in his career. Not a single day. That is not an exaggeration. He didn't miss a day of work. They ran over his lunch pail with a excavator and flattened it as a joke. He took it home and hammered it out, okay? Because keep in mind, he was making good money. He paid for Clint's father to go to college. And then when he passed away, they found a huge hoard of money that was buried in the backyard.
Wow.
Listen, you guys don't
different time.
have it difficult. He couldn't not work. Clint's dad then went to college, worked his tail off to create a firm out of nothing. And then Clint, instead of taking the easy route and taking careers, he went and built something himself. You never know the challenges of the generations before you. I've really started to appreciate those that came before me a little more, especially when I went through a hard time in life and really started focusing on feeling sorry for myself and the struggles I was going through. And I realized that it's always hard. I don't care what generation you are. And maybe it is harder for you guys. Don't know.
Just a different hard.
I don't care.
Different challenge.
Life is hard, yeah.
It's hard. Do it. Dive in.
I think maybe just kind of going off of like how it's different back then and just you save money. I think maybe nowadays, and it's like our fault, but just we have more access to, like, there's more stuff to buy, I guess. And it's easy to buy. Like, you can buy stuff on your phone. You buy stuff on Amazon.
Totally.
It's just so
Oh, no.
it's so easy to spend money nowadays. Like, that's why we're not saving any
I think
money.
that's a great point. I mean, back whenever we were your age, you had to physically get up out of your living room and go buy something, miles down the road.
And you planned it. You didn't just you weren't sitting there on Amazon going, oh, that shirt's cool. You went to buy a shirt or you didn't.
Right.
Right.
And you saw the cash leave.
Correct.
So it's not just swiping a card and it's digital data. It's you see the money leaving. So you're like, gosh,
Very difficult for you guys. I do not envy that. I would not have done well.
Yeah, it makes it even harder now with like ads. Literally, you can have personally targeted ads to want your exact needs and everything like that. So it's like, oh, I have to buy this.
Telling
It's
your
literally
brain you
perfect for
need
me. Yeah,
They know
so-
exactly what Bennett
Yeah.
wants to buy. There it is, right on your screen, right when you want it, baby.
Exactly.
you can just think it and they
Yeah.
know. Yeah. So I'm not saying that's an excuse because we don't
No, it's
have
a
to buy.
challenge.
We don't have to. Yeah. It's just another challenge.
It's a challenge.
It's
Just
discipline, yeah.
Yep. So
I think a big part of it is, like you said, I think that the attention span is different. That's not a knock. TV shows are becoming a thing of the past. It's streaming. It's all this right now, and that I don't think financial literacy has found its way to social media, which has not helped things out.
that's probably on purpose.
Yeah. Oh, they want you to
Definitely
buy.
on purpose.
Want you to
yeah.
buy.
Yeah.
But,
Exactly. So
Yeah, you guys are the most creative generation in history. I tell my kids that all the time. I think it's fascinating to watch you guys work, the way your minds work, the ability. It's like magic to me watching you guys create websites like Bennett does and everything that you create. It's like magic to me. And
Oh, we can't believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the stuff we come in and, our entertainment is just to sit around and watch what these guys do because it's so out of our realm of abilities.
Right.
I respect it.
But
I'm
I feel
grateful
like
for it too.
You've been let down again by the education part and to focus on your financing. You've got to make room for that in your life, and it's not fun at first, to be honest, because you're broke. Everybody's broke when they start out.
Yeah, you don't
it's
wanna-
not fun
you
to
don't wanna
look
look at it or
you
think
don't want
about
to
it.
think about it,
right.
And so it's not fun. But we forced ourselves.
That's what you got to
We
do. It's
forced
just
ourselves.
discipline, like what he said. It's just our generation doesn't have, a lot of discipline. in my opinion.
No one does when they're young. We were lucky
Yeah.
because we were driven by greed and some other factors.
Right.
I think greed is pretty gross, but it does have its benefits. It's a great driver.
Pushes you.
Fear is the great motivator. I was always feared. I thought because I grew up with greed being cool, I feared being broke and being looked at like a loser. And that's a great motivator.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies of all time, Wall Street.
Yeah.
Gordon Gekko, one of the coolest characters you'll ever see in any movie. He gives a speech to, the board of directors of a huge company. Greed is good. Check it out. You have to pull the clip up and look at it. It's
how we thought.
It's pretty amazing.
Right.
We thought that was cool. Your generation, I think, cares more about community and the world and not, getting over on others. And we looked at that as weak. We looked at it as a weakness. And you look at it as compassion. And I think there's some real beauty in watching you guys operate in this world. But again, you got to focus on the details and the finances because the answers are there for you. But
And we have plenty of access to it.
Wake up! Quit chasing some dream crypto or some
Quick buck.
chasing. Yeah,
Yep.
it's the long play works. It's been proven. And I'm sorry it wasn't shown to you or taught to you, but like many things in your guys' life and in a lot of millennials' life, you got to do it yourself. You got to educate yourself now.
And I think when we do finally figure it out, whatever generation that is, I think we'll then know we want to tell the next one. Maybe. I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
I hope we're like, oh, we got screwed over. But hopefully it's not they screwed us over, so we're going to screw them over too.
going,
Like, who cares?
Who's they? Everybody is in the position they're in. The economy's different for every generation, and it's up to you, no one else, to learn how to make it happen and to put into work the habits that will build you financial freedom and success. If that's what you want. If you don't, if you want to go produce music and just who cares what happens, that's your freedom of choice too. But if you want financial independence and freedom, I don't want to hear anyone crying about it. I'm sorry that the world didn't teach it to you. Shame on the generations before you, but really, we went and learned it ourselves in a lot of ways too. Get up, learn it, focus on it, and do it, because I don't feel too bad for them.
We're kind of wrapping up our podcast this week. First of all, thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
I think it's good for our
Thanks for having
listeners
us.
to see that we're not just a bunch of fuddy-duddies, that, hey, we got buddies in this that are much younger than us.
Hey, they paid us. They paid us. to
That's
come out.
right.
Yeah, I'm on the clock right now, actually.
But
We're
it's
almost
not
done,
just
right?
it's not about baby boomers versus millennials or Gen X or Gen Z, whatever demographic you're from. We're all on the same team here. We're all on the same planet, and we're all trying to fight through this together. That's what the Homeboys message is about. We want to help give financial literacy to those that are ready to listen and to change their lives. You can get more content. Go to homeboyspodcast.com. We're going to keep pumping this stuff out. We love having you. Till next time, happy investing. To your mom, she really likes these White Claws these days.
I know. She's a monster once she gets on those.
I think I got one. Oh, shoot. Dude. Oh, that's a big one. Oh, give me that. Yeah. Okay. What kind of controller is this?
It's not a controller. It's a fishing reel.
Is he supposed to walk in the back?
Oh, is he in the background?
Going that way.
You're good. You're good. We're doing good bloopers.
Supposed to be in the background. Grandpa's lost.
Watch, when you back up, I don't want you to step on your stuff. But.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Here.
Dude, that ain't real fishing.